NTR's Up Front with Glenn Anderson.
Off the Record with Michael Landsberg is brought to you by the Keg Steakhouse and Bar. For great steaks, good friends, see you tonight.
Oilers clinging to life. Game time 2 hours from now. The panel is all over that with Chris Jericho. But up front today, Glenn Anderson. Glenn, you have been there before. What's this kind of pressure feel like?
Well, for tonight, I tell you right now, everyone's got their playoff beard going. They're changing whatever they need to. They're down 3-1. The pressure is mounting, and they're playing for their lives right now. And we've been there before, so we know exactly. As long as the team is tight, they're feeling confident. All they need to do is get a break here or there and score on their opportunities that they are getting.
You played with Craig McTavish. What's he like in the room?
He's very well experienced. He knows exactly what's going on there. I mean, as far as the system that they're playing, the games have been so close, especially the first game. I mean, basically they beat themselves in that game. So he knows the systems that the other teams are using. So he's definitely not getting out-coached, and he just has to come up with a formula that's going to be able to win the first period and then take it from there. And as they say, it's one shift at a time.
You faced that in 1990, first round against the Winnipeg Jets. You guys trailed 3-1 in the opening series of the playoffs, as I said. How did you come back in? What is the mental approach to coming back from this kind of deficit?
Well, knowing that you have the capability. First of all, you have to have confidence in your goalie and then on the way out. So UC is going to come up large, which I think he played unbelievable last game, and he made some big key saves that kept him in the game. And the team has got to feed off of that and then just get the momentum going and start feeling good about themselves and confident, and then other guys step up to the plate, Samsonov and Pekka, and especially Hemsky. Hemsky hasn't really done much in this series, and Carolina has really punished him. So basically, players like that, with that kind of talent, they've really got to step up to the plate, and their true colors have got to come through.
You talked about the confidence in market, and I think they probably have that. Where they may not have confidence is in goal scoring. You scored more playoff game winners in Edmonton than Gretzky and Curry. As you look at this team, who's got to step up and score the big one?
Well, I would say, I mean, basically on the power play, they're not coming through on the power play. And what they have to do is make it a little adjustment because Carolina is getting in the shooting lanes. And you've got to be able to get the puck through and get it through onto Ward and create a rebound there and score in the rebound. So the defensemen have got to get it through and take your shot when you have the opportunity, especially guys with like Pronger. Pronger is an unbelievable power play specialist, and he's got to be able to get the puck through and hit the net. They're not hitting the net right now. Hit the net, the goalie's got to make the save, the rebound could be there, then your Ryan Smiths, your Hemskys, your Pekkas, your Pizzanis have got to come through and knock the puck in.
Here's a problem they have, or at least an issue, and you tell me how big it is. A lack of experience with this kind of pressure. When you won your first cup in 1984, you had been to the Stanley Cup final the year before, and then, of course, in subsequent years, there was tons of experience. How important is that?
Well, it's huge because you know exactly what to go through, and you don't try to overcompensate and do too much, and you play out of your persona and your realm. I mean, you stay within your focus of what you have to do as an individual and then as a team, so that if somebody makes a mistake on your team, you don't have to make a mistake also to compensate for his mistake. You've got to stay in your position and then regroup from there. And sometimes what happens in those situations as a young team, what happens is you try to do too much. You're trying too hard. You got to stay within yourself and play well.
You were a speed guy, a guy the teams tried to hook and hold. That's now the focus of the National Hockey League, stopping guys hooking and holding, got players like you. Do you like the way the game's being called?
Well, it's great because it opens it up a little more. I mean, the guys were getting bigger, stronger, and faster, and there wasn't just any more room to go anywhere unless the rinks got bigger. And the systems that they're using, they're so well defensively, and the goalies are phenomenal with the new equipment and the way they can see the puck now. It's just going to create the game today is way better than when we played it.
I want to talk to you about when you played. I got some great questions for you. Will you stick around for next question?
Absolutely.
That's coming up later on. Meanwhile, the panel, including Chris Jericho, is next. And later on, next question with Glenn, we ask the ultimate Oiler question. Who was the better leader, Gretzky or Messier?
Off the Record with Michael Landsberg is brought to you by the Keg Steakhouse and Bar. For great steaks, good friends, see you tonight.
Lobster summer is finally back. Yep, it's here. The Keg's annual Lobster Summer is on till August 20th. Try one of the great dishes on our special lobster menu. The Keg's Lobster Summer, on now till August 20th.
Fill her up? Oh, don't touch the truck.
Gonna touch the truck. I got the oil. It's good. Ice cold Coors Light, the silver bullet.
Just throwing this out there, but is this really about who gets the magic sword? Or is everyone just a little on edge because they're hungry?
Now available with almonds, Snickers really satisfies.
Introducing the miracle of fusion, a revolutionary technology and a unique idea come together to create new Gillette Fusion. Until now, pressure caused irritation. Fusion has 5 blades spaced closer together to reduce pressure, with less irritation and more comfort. Flip Fusion over. A precision trimmer for those tricky places. The comfort of 5 blades, the precision of 1. The best shave ever, in manual or battery power. New Gillette Fusion.
I grew up watching the Great One. I wanted to be like him. And I wanted to be myself. Living up to the dream, you gotta pay your dues. Step out of the shadow and call your own shots. Respect is something you earn. I watched, I worked, and I'm smack dab in the middle of it, and I love it. This is my dream. This is my sports center.
From Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, weighing 227 pounds, Chris Jericho!
Wow. Chris Jericho, a legend since the days of Smoky Mountain Wrestling and Jim Cornette's drive-through storyline. You remember that little trivia?
You know, it's funny, I'm doing a book about my memoirs as if I'm like President Clinton or something. And that story, I just told it the other day. It's funny that you dug that up, Landsberg. You're a veritable Google.
And you're doing an awful lot, including you're doing some acting these days, right?
Absolutely,
You'll tell us more about that later on?
I sure
we
will.
got to talk to Joe Keithley. Great to see you, my friend.
Yeah, nice to be back.
You've been on OTR for years. Things are going well. DOA has just re-released, I guess, War on 45?
Yeah, it's an anti-war CD. It's on Sudden Death Records.
Excellent. I respect that. Cam Hughes, welcome back to the show.
It's so good to be here.
You left us a while ago. We used to see you dancing around arenas, taking off your shirts. Please leave that one on for many reasons.
Let's go Oilers. That's
great
all I
to
got.
welcome you back from Los Angeles.
It's an honor.
Please don't talk when I'm talking. Andrea Petrillo, welcome back to the show. Great sportscaster and a great job on OTR. Always good to see you.
Thank you.
So, let me look into my crystal ball. I see Chris in his underwear. Okay, that's old wrestling highlights. Let me go to something else. I see possibly tonight, 4 minutes to go, tie game, tiny hook, Oilers get called, Kane score in the power play and win the cup on a borderline call. Do you want the ref to make that call?
Well, I think if they started playing by these rules in the first exhibition game of the season, then you got to carry that through all the way throughout the year. So you can't be changing just because it's the playoffs.
You know what? You don't want a cheap penalty to decide it. You put the whistle away, unless it's like flagrant. You know, you tackle the guy, you spear
But where do you
him,
draw
right?
the line, though? A rule is a rule.
You know what? This is the Stanley Cup. You know,
Yeah, but
so like,
still.
you know, hockey, yeah, it's part of playing hockey is
Well,
breaking
if
the
that's
rules.
the case, then they should have allowed the goal a couple years ago when Buffalo got screwed out of the Stanley Cup when the toe of the skate was in the crease. They didn't
Well,
allow
no,
that.
actually, that was good because I had money on Dallas in that game, so I was happy about that.
But a lot of players will tell you that they'll watch the flow of the game. They'll figure out what the referees are doing that night, what they're calling, what they're not calling. And I think they just have to be consistent that night. In the last game, they weren't as consistent as they should have been. And every player just wants it to be consistent from the first period to the end of the game.
But it has been consistent. From day one, they've been calling just about everything, and they're continuing to do it right in the Stanley Cup Finals. Do you want something to be, you know, decided by a penalty? Well, then try not to take a penalty. That's the best thing I can say. I mean, don't do what you know the refs are going to call. You know they're going to call the little, you know, we're calling it chintzy. They're going to grab the hook. If they're going to call that, don't do it.
I mean, but don't make the phantom call. I mean, it's like,
The call on Jason Smith, the end of game number 4. He may have tapped him with his stick, which ultimately, if you consider what they've called this year, maybe the ref made the call. And that's why it's really a perfect example, because the question is, do you want that call made with 4.5 minutes to go that ultimately could decide the Stanley Cup?
But the refs are also under a lot of pressure, too. I mean, you got to think this is also the first year for referees to be learning these kinds of calls and everything as well. And they don't...
They have
people they don't want to piss off either.
The referees have been reffing all their lives, like from Pee Wee to Junior.
Yeah, the same with hockey players. They've been playing since they were little, too, right?
Yeah, but they can adapt. I mean, the referees that they've had time, they've been reffing all year.
They're
These are supposed to be the cream.
But you got Gary Bettman as your boss.
This is supposed to be the cream of the crop of the referees, not just the guys who've just come up from the AHL.
I think they're doing a good job.
It doesn't matter if it's 4.5 minutes left or if it's 44.5 minutes left. A call is a call, a rule is a rule. You stick with the rules or you don't. Without rules, it's hockey anarchy.
Well, what's wrong with that? I'm all for anarchy. Anarchy's a good thing.
You have the A and the anarchy sign. I think more the problem is the fact that the Oilers can't score on the power play because they've had a couple 5-on-3s. It's not like it's been against them. They just can't score on the power play.
But at the same time, you have to keep the momentum of what hockey is all about. It's about hitting. It's about grinding. And I just hope that there isn't that call that is just maybe on the border that changes the game and also changes what these players have been playing for all their lives.
But I think this just started after the Buffalo series when was it Campbell, when he shot it over the boards, and all of a sudden he got called for a penalty. They score, there you go, that decided. All of a sudden, to me, this seems like it's such a big deal. Why wasn't it such a big deal before about a penalty, causing the outcome of a game?
That penalty shooting over the boards in your end like that, that's something's under debate, and that's a clear-cut rule. There's no discretion.
No, but that's a whole other issue.
And that's why they put it in there, so the ref doesn't have to decide what's going on in a player's head. Yeah. You mentioned the power play, a huge issue. I mean, how do you rate Edmonton's play right now? Because on one hand, obviously, they've got to be disappointed with the fact that they're not scoring goals right now, and they're down 3-1. On the other hand, you look at it and you say they were the 8th seed. They just edged out your Vancouver Canucks on the 81st game of the season.
You also missed the biggest point is they got their heart ripped out of them. Dwayne Rolison played every minute of the entire Stanley Cup playoffs, and they lost him, and they went into a tailspin. They lost basically 2 games because of that. You take that away, it's only 2 games to 1.
But Markkanen played great on the Saturday night game.
But he didn't play good in the first one, and the whole team was out of whack. They lost their heart and soul.
Yeah, but these guys are professionals. They've been playing all their lives. A lot of these guys are gritty Canadian players that are going to go out there and give it everything. And they don't care if they're the 8th seed or 4th seed. The fact is they've been playing all their lives for this moment.
They're real
so that doesn't matter.
They're real skilled guys. You're right. And they got a lot of top-notch guys on the Edmonton team. I think they blew the series when they blew that 3-0 lead in the first game.
For the record, the series isn't
over
yet.
And if they had taken that game in the other team's building, then even with the injury to Rolison, maybe the series would be tied now and they have a chance.
But the last 2 games, they've played really well. And they lost 1 just by a smidge. It was that second game where they got blown out of the water and a complete defensive breakdown in the first game.
Carolina's a better team. You can't deny that. They've got great defense. They've got great offense. And goalies win championships. Yes, they lost Rolison, but Cam Ward, you got to give that guy credit.
I'm not saying I'm not, but I'm saying with Rolison in their pipes against Cam Ward, it was a lot more of an even series than throwing Markkanen in there. Hasn't played in 2 months.
But also, as you said, Chris.
But also, chemistry is important. Edmonton has the chemistry, and they had momentum. The same thing Calgary had a couple years ago.
In Game 3, they rallied behind Markkanen and had a great game, and I think they're going to do it tonight.
And like you said, it's not over yet. It's not over yet.
The crowd was with them the first game back in Edmonton. I think that's why they won.
Which I do want to say something about the crowd. I've been, as you have, been an incredible amount of sporting events. It's one of the best crowds I've ever seen, so good for you, Edmonton fans. Yeah.
Almost as good as the old fans in the barn in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Go Jets! Yeah!
You know what we're thinking? Guys, we're kicking around the idea that it's possible the NHL will go to 20 playoff teams from 16 as they have right now. As you look at the Edmonton Oilers and you think they're the 8th seed, they just kind of backed into the playoffs. Does that make you want more teams getting into the playoffs, or do you want them to
No,
no.
And we're playing
perfect right now.
Yeah.
It's perfect. I mean, the original league was 4 out of 6. This is a similar percentage of teams in the playoffs.
I don't think that if you're doing maybe you just have a few more teams, and maybe you have like just best of the 5. You know what I mean?
And that would be the plan. And that would be the plan.
You get that going. There's a few other teams that can get in. And bottom line is, there's a lot of teams like Edmonton Oilers that start to play a lot better as the season's ending up. The Stanley Cup's coming up. The pressure, the excitement. So maybe there's some other teams that can come along. I give it a shot.
Got to cut you guys off. We got a lot more to talk about. Joe Keithley, tell me about the new album.
New album just came out. It's an anti-war CD, and it's nuts. And we got a lot to say.
Anti-war?
Yeah. Anti-war, and fighting Iraq, different like stupid fights around the world. That's what it's about.
Well, some people would call them stupid fights, others would. I would tend to
of
agree
course,
with you on that.
I would
we go to
debate
break.
that.
Today's podcast can't miss for anyone who likes wrestling. An upfront-styled interview with this man, Chris Jericho. I'll ask him flat out, can the WWE get rid of steroids? Go to tsn.ca and download. And still to come on next question, Glenn Anderson returns and he'll tell us if the Oilers can win tonight. Oh, he knows. Part of the dynasty. Come on.
You want Wendy's bacon mushroom melt. Bacon, mushrooms, and creamy, dreamy cheddar cheese sauce. All on a hot and juicy cheeseburger. Go now. Do Wendy's. Do what tastes right.
In a world of fake politicians, fake sports, fake injuries, fake love, fake lust. In a world of fake muscles, fake food, fake hair, fake you-know-whats, fake tans, fake tattoos, fake beauty, and fake bands. It's good to know you can get a real beer made with real ingredients in the tradition of a real brewmaster. Here's to real beer. John Labatt's Brew.
They're asleep. Okay, cut the lights.
Who's counting on your break today? Visit Midas for lifetime brake pads or shoes, just $49. We'll provide a written estimate and fully explain any additional work needed. Be safe.
Trust the Midas touch. Timing is everything. Accutron Swiss-made timepieces are designed with precision and durability for today's boldest adventures and tomorrow's toughest challenges. Accutron, for timing you can trust. Because timing is everything.
Ever had one of those cravings you can't shake? One that follows relentlessly? Wherever you go, day and night, 24/7? Good, aren't they? Wendy's Bacon Mushroom Melt. Satisfying a crave is doing what tastes right.
Here's two guys that look like they're on the juice. Some kind of juice.
To testing, unlike the NHL, wrestling obviously had a problem. Guys look like comic book heroes, good for business, bad for life expectancy. Hockey had 0 positive tests, and to a man, they say there is no problem. Dick Pound still contends the testing is flawed and means little. Are you willing to say the NHL's clean? And better still, do you care?
Yeah, I care. You know, hockey players are example to, like, young kids that want to play hockey, like, throughout Canada, throughout the world. So they should.
Example to the lead singer of DOA, the craziest Canadian.
And I'm a good example.
A good example of the crazy punk
DOA,
singer.
right?
Well,
That's
obviously
right.
he's not doing steroids, so we're fine.
You can see that. That's fine.
I think that they're role models more to the people who want to be athletes themselves. I mean, you're telling young kids who are trying to climb up the ranks, be clean, practice, train hard. So all of a sudden you pop a couple pills, you stick a needle in your butt, and you're good?
But tonight,
you can't
we're
do
going to watch
that.
the Stanley Cup final, and you want to watch these players, and you want to know that they're clean and that they haven't been cheating, so there's no unfair advantage.
Yeah.
So that's an example that whether I'm an athlete, a young kid that's trying to become a professional hockey player, or a mom and dad at home, you just want to know that they're clean and they're playing by the rules.
Well, of course you do.
Yeah, I think that's
we're
the
not
thing.
arguing
If
against
everybody
each other,
could do steroids, and if everybody took them, and everybody was on the same playing field, then who cares? If only certain guys are doing it, then it's cheating.
Did that bug you about wrestling? That I mean, you were a guy who was looked at as being clean, right? You were never one of the guys that people held out there, but you were competing with and against guys who were bigger and stronger and got to push up the ladder because Vince liked the way they looked.
In some ways, but also you're missing the biggest part of wrestling is not about how big you are; it's about connecting with the crowd.
But you've got to admit that Vince loves
give you an
Vince
advantage.
loves big guys, right?
But you know, yeah, exactly. He loves big guys, and that does give you an advantage. There's no doubt about it.
Are you a better performer if you're Hulk Hogan and you're that ripped? I mean, are you?
No, you're not. It doesn't matter because wrestling is not about that. Now, if you were in football or something like that, or baseball, if you can hit a ball ball farther because you're on steroids.
Yeah.
And might I just say, too, that Dick Pound is the best name of all time. if you could hit it farther, then obviously that's cheating. If it's something like bodybuilding where, oh, they're on steroids, well, no crap, Sherlock. Of course they're on steroids.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what makes the sport a sport.
Yeah. Think about it if they came out, well, look at the clock that Barry Bonds is getting now, and his records are all kind of looking at being tainted, 73 home runs and stuff like that. What's that? I do, really. And same thing with, Sammy Sosa,
See, here's what I find naive. Hockey players say all the time, well, there's no real advantage. Hockey players don't need to be bigger and stronger. But what people say about steroids all the time, and what Dick Pound says, is that it's all about recovery. It's all about the ability to train harder and longer and come back from games.
Yeah, but I know these guys down, and hockey players are already starting to train right now, and the season starts in 3 or 4 months. So these guys are some of the best conditioned.
And they're not even over yet. And they're not tested at this time.
So what?
Off-season testing is important.
Well, then they should be tested right now. I agree with that. As long as you maintain a standard, and if you're saying they're maintaining a standard.
Were you scratching your back there? I haven't seen a guy do that in the show in a while. I'm just happy that's where you were going. Okay.
So excited about the game tonight.
Okay. The misconception about steroids is you just take them and automatically you're good. You have to train almost harder when you're on steroids. The point is, it's still illegal. So if everybody can do them, cool. If only a few people do them, then it's cheating and they shouldn't be done.
So let's talk about the fake stuff, where guys roll around pretending to be hurt. It's called
diving.
Italian soccer. Part of the Italian strategy and others is to embellish a play with a dramatic fall and then a period of writhing and pain. The goal, of course, is to draw a foul and perhaps a yellow card, and sometimes it works. Do you like it?
Yeah, sometimes it works, but not all the time. I mean, when you look at Italy's game against Ghana, they only got 2 yellow cards drawn against Ghana, and you can say, what, they dove, 10, 15
so you don't
times?
Like it. So you don't like it. You're embarrassed that you're an Italian fan and your boys are out there
I did not say I'm embarrassed.
I think
Don't
I heard
put words
that.
in my mouth.
Okay.
I think everyone's just jealous of the Italian fans because
Does
we
it bother
stand
you?
behind our team no matter what. We're very
passionate. Does it bother you that these guys are writhing around, obviously acting?
It's not just the Italians. First of all, English Premier League, yes,
I'm not talking about any other team. I'm talking about the Italians.
But why are you guys talking about Italians?
Would you like to see the Italian team tone it down?
No.
They're
I don't want to see them tone it down.
It's the typical Europeans. They're always diving. If the Canadians would have made the World Cup, none of them would have taken a dive. Just like the NHL.
Be a man and don't dive and play the game.
It's not a matter of being a man. It's a different kind of sport. That's what they do.
They writhe around on the ground like they've been shot by like a bazooka, right? And then the referee waves the stretcher, and all of a sudden they're up and they're back, running 100 miles an hour.
If they make mistakes, they do get shot with a bazooka. You don't want to make any mistakes when you're playing for some of those teams.
Well,
Columbia scored against his own team.
That was the own
Yeah.
goal thing, and apparently, actually, that wasn't the way the story out. It's such a tragic
Whatever, he was
story.
shot by his own
Thanks for
people.
sucking the life out of the show, Jericho. We're having some fun, and all of a sudden you're talking about a dead Colombian guy.
Okay, let me just say one thing about the World Cup.
Let me say this.
Don't knock the
I want to find out why you're in Toronto. You're in a play. Tell me about it.
Doing a play. It's called Opening Night. It's going to be July 20th to the 22nd at Toronto Center for the Arts on Yonge Street, and it's a comedy, and it's going to be awesome. I'm very excited. It's my stage debut.
Awesome. I know everyone involved with OTR will be there.
We'll be there, the whole crew.
ChrisJericho.com. You can get more information. Guys, thanks for doing Off the Record. Congratulations on the album. As we go to break, here's an email for you. Hey, Chris, I got to know, any chance of you returning to the WWE, and what's your take on McMahon's steroid policy? Hold on. Go to TSN.ca and download the Chris Jericho podcast. That's what we call in the business a tease. You know about that, Andrea?
Closed captioning of this TSN program is brought